Yet another patch with meta-shifting changes, so we've got a new set of solo carry champions to discuss. 3 champions for every single role that have the highest potential to impact games on their own for 12.12. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. With Fiora falling down due to direct nerfs taking her spot in the top 3 is Tahm Kench. Riot ended up buffing Tahm in 12.11, and he also benefited immensely from the tank item changes, which has propelled him up the tier list. As a champion who becomes ridiculously tanky yet can still output respectable damage, Tahm is a perfect pick post-durability update. When you have all these enchanters being played in the support role, it becomes even more difficult to take down Tahm as he becomes this unkillable god. Look to try out the summoner combination of Ghost and Teleport if you haven't already. Ghost is extremely underrated on Tahm as the movement speed allows him to reliably stick onto targets. You can also snowball harder with Ghost and Flash due to its significantly shorter cooldown. Setting a freeze and then running the enemy down with Ghost when they move up too far has very little counterplay. Mord is one of the worst matchups for Tahm, so we would recommend banning him out. Frostfire Rush into Thornmail 2nd and Spirit Visage 3rd is the standard core build. Run Grasp for the Keystone with Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Unflinching. Best secondaries are Triumph and Alacrity. One top laner who rises even further in priority for 12.12, becoming arguably the most broken solo carry, is Darius. With Fiora dropping, there is no better bruiser top than Darius. Darius has been absolutely feasting the past couple patches, as his ability to perform in extended skirmishes is god tier. Not only this, but he's got true damage to go along with it, so he loves those fights that last longer to stack his passive and unleash havoc on the entire enemy team. Although Wukong isn't played a ton as a top laner, he's a very difficult matchup for Darius and worth a ban considering his jungle presence anyways. As a result of the Death Stance nerfs, it's no longer the no-brainer second pickup. Sterix and Deadmans are viable second options now, and you should look to adapt to each game. Death Stance when snowballing and against AD, Deadmans when against heavy AD, and Sterix if you plan to teamfight more or against lots of AP. Runes for Darius are Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Optimal secondaries include Second Wind and Unflinching. Another tank you need to be paying attention to for 12.12 is Ornn. Ornn has been one of the best tanks for a while now and has been lifted to even greater heights due to the 12.11 item buffs. Similar to Tahm, Ornn isn't just a beefy frontline who can soak damage. His kill pressure and ability to single out targets is pretty outrageous. A full combo with Ornn can easily chunk squishies well below half health, and if you're ahead, can even one-shot them. Fiora was one of Ornn's least favorable matchups in previous patches, but with her nerfed in 12.12, it's another positive for Ornn. Fiora or Mord are 2 of the best bans to consider when playing Ornn. Frostfire or Sunfire can work as Ornn's mythic, prioritizing Sunfire against heavier CC comps and Frostfire otherwise. Winter's Approach and Thornmail are great second and third items, while Frozen Heart and Force of Nature are very strong in niche situations. Pick up Grasp as the Keystone with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. Free Boots and Biscuits are the most optimal secondaries. Avoiding any nerfs for 12.12 and continuing to dominate the jungle meta will be Wukong. The Monkey King has been a very reliable jungle pickup ever since his W has been able to traverse over walls. When playing into heavier AD compositions, Wukong has the ability to thrive even more. Wu's a champion that wants those extended fights as his passive provides him stacking armor, which gives him so much tankiness the longer fights last. When you factor in the healing from Divine Sunderer and Death's Dance, Wukong's basically a tank that can output a disgusting amount of damage. Black Cleaver and Maw are great situational pickups for Wukong. Maw when against a few AP threats, and Cleaver into armor stackers. Best rune page is Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Grab Free Boots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. It looks like Riot is content with the jungle meta for the time being, as Volibear miraculously avoids any nerfs for 12.12. Especially if you're in the lower elos, Volley needs to be in your champion pool right now if your main goal is to climb. Volley was already one of the strongest junglers, but then Riot decided to buff tank items, and he's become the #1 solo queue jungler. Chemtank into Deadman's build is so lethal for solo queue as it provides you with incredible pick power and the ability to easily punish the enemy's missteps. Volley's lockdown is all point and click too, with the stun coming from Q, so you don't need to be a mastermind to execute on engage plays. Press the attack being super easy to proc for Volley gives him a good amount of damage for a tank, and with W on a very short cooldown, his skirmish is quite good. Predator was also a viable keystone for Volley in previous patches, but with it being nerfed for 12.12, we would recommend running PTA in all games now. Nunu rivals Volley as the most broken jungle pick for the current meta. Direct buffs in 12.11 combined with tank item buffs have completely bolstered Nunu's power level. Q healing was increased, while the effectiveness of grievous wounds were reduced, which makes Nunu super difficult to take down. In a meta where games are not as snowbally as before, Nunu fits in perfectly as he can stack dragons for his team and win through Dragon Soul. A really interesting new build for Nunu gaining traction is a hybrid setup of Frostfire into Demonic Embrace. We've seen this core in the likes of Shyvana, and Nunu can abuse it really well too. Demonic Embrace passive converts 2% bonus health into ability power, so Tank Mythics gaining 100 bonus health amplifies the synergy. Optimal rune page for Nunu is Phase Rush with Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Water Walking, run Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter for secondaries. With the game slowing down a little due to champions becoming tankier, Anivia has seen her main weakness alleviated. Once you reach level 6, everything becomes so much smoother for Anivia, and with the added health early on, it's much easier to reach that point unscathed. Anivia is one of the best mages when it comes down to dealing consistent DPS, so the durability update has really increased her value. Longer ranged mages like Lux and Xerath are two of the more difficult matchups for Anivia, so using your ban on one of them is a good idea. Everfrost nerfs have seen the item lose a lot of power, so Liandry should be your focus for the majority of games. You can't go wrong running Electrocute as the keystone with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collector, and Relentless Hunter. Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace work great for secondaries. Our second solo carry mid of 12.12 is going to be Victor. Much like Anivia, Victor's early levels are where he can run into the most issues, so now that assassins can't one-shot him as easy, he's having a much better time. Scaling into that mid-game spike where you have 2 items is key for Victor, and he's able to get there way more reliably now. Since Vic is a Luden's user, he was not affected by the recent Everfrost or Liandry's nerfs like many other mages were. Cass and Ahri, being highly mobile champions, are good ban options for Victor, as his ultimate and W become very difficult to use. Luden's into Shadow Flame is a really nice core when you're playing against majority squishy champs, whereas into more bruisers or tanks, grabbing Lichbane second is the way to go. First Strike has taken over as Victor's best keystone, as Ahri isn't really worth it anymore due to the fact early kill pressure is much harder to come by. Futures Market is also very underrated on Vic instead of Biscuits when you're in easier matchups. One of the most undervalued mid laners in the entire game right now is definitely Cassiopeia. Cass is so strong for the current meta where we see very durable champions being played. Burst mages are having a very difficult time succeeding, but Cass is on the opposite end of the spectrum, as her consistent damage from E allows her to shred in drawn-out fights. If you run Exhaust as your secondary summoner spell, it's so difficult even for assassins to beat Cass in the 1v1. Matchup-wise, Victor is one of the few champions Cass players see negative results against, so he's a good ban to consider. Everfrost or Liandry's can work as Cassio's Mythic, while Rylai's and Archangels will round out the core build. Everfrost is best into squishier dive champs due to the added peel power and extra health, whereas Liandry's is most optimal against low mobility tanks or bruisers. In regards to runes, grab Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Conditioning and Overgrowth are the best secondaries. Mages in the bot lane carry role have been amazing for the past few patches, but one that will be broken for 12.12 is Seraphine. Riot is buffing Seraphine's CC duration on E by 0.5 seconds and reducing the cooldown of the spell by 1 second early on. 0.5 seconds may not seem like a lot, but when you think of it in percentage terms, it's a 50% increase on the spell's effectiveness. Seraphine works extremely well as an AP carry because she can survive lane quite easy and reach her core items super fast. Completing Archangels as early as possible allows Seraphine to take over the mid game, so playing her bot instead of support works so much better. Champions are already more difficult to kill post durability update, but when you've got a Seraphine paired up with a Soraka support, spamming shields for their fed Darius, the counterplay is almost non-existent. Best rune page for Seraphine is Ahri with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm, run Conditioning and Revitalize for secondaries. Twitch is the highest priority traditional ADC for solo queue in 12.12. Zeri and Lucian are both being hit with nerfs, so it allows Twitch to lock down that #1 spot. Twitch is just perfect for the current meta, as he scales super well and synergizes perfectly with the enchanters that are being spammed. The supports that Twitch win the most with include Janna, Renata Glask, Rakan, and Yuumi, and they are all being played a ton for 12.12. Rakan was even just buffed, so if you want to play a super deadly duo combo, look no further. Blade of the Ruined King was buffed in 12.11, so it's a great rush item on Twitch. Once you complete Kraken Slayer and Hurricane, your teamfight and ability to annihilate any squishy from stealth cannot be matched. Grab PTA as the keystone, with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Eyeball Collector and Treasure Hunter work great for secondaries. Trailing right in behind Twitch as the second best solo carry AD is Jhin. Jhin is one of the most reliable and consistent marksmen you can play right now. The utility Jhin provides allows you to be impactful no matter the state of your lane, which feels really nice. A new duo to try out this patch is running Jhin with Ashe. At level 6, Ashe Ultimate followed by Jhin W and Ultimate can lead to so many free kills. If you build lethality on Jhin, then this combo can 100 to 0 squishy from miles away. Speaking of lethality, you should be looking to run the build into a majority squishy comp, while Gale Force into crit works best against bruisers or tanks. Definitely take Dark Harvest as the keystone for lethality, and if you're going to crit, then Fleet Footwork is the more optimal choice. A brand new addition to the support top 3 for 12.12 is Taric. Taric is by far the most underrated support as a result of his recent buffs from 12.11. The max health scaling on Q heal being increased is great because Taric loves building Winter's Approach. 25 mana off Q is also massive since it's a spell Taric wants to relentlessly spam out in skirmishes. Those two buffs would have been plenty, but Riot added even more changes to Taric's E that has pushed him to being one of the best supports. The durability patch actually helps Taric a ton as well due to the fact his ultimate loses value against champions who can burst super quick. Fights that last longer give Taric a greater chance of gaining great value out of his ult. Taric's core build consists of a Locket or Shirelia's Rush into Winter's Approach 2nd and Knight's Vow 3rd. Glacial Augment is the optimal keystone with Freeboots, Biscuits, and Approach Velocity. Conditioning and Revitalize are the best secondaries. Riot has tried nerfing Senna so many times in recent patches, but they continue to fail at dropping her power level. Senna is an amazing solo carry support as she has scaling power that is difficult to match, can output a ton of damage while still providing her team with utility. Less of these hard engaged supports being played in meta favors Senna tremendously. As long as you can survive lane and consistently stack up souls, then you only become stronger as the game goes on. An Umbral Glaive Rush remains super broken for Senna, followed by Eclipse 2nd and Fire Cannon 3rd. You should be running Fleet as the keystone with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cut Down. Biscuits and Approach Velocity are the go-to secondaries. Renata has been the best solo queue support for a while now, and that statement holds true in 12.12. There must be a Riot or Renata main trying to complete their gold promos or something, as it's kinda crazy she's not being nerfed yet. Renata is really the jack of all trades, possessing strong pick power from Q, great teamfight with ultimate being able to buff up her carries with W and E. Renata's passive % health damage has been giving way more value due to the fact there is more health in the game post durability update. Shirelia's or Locket work best for Renata's Mythic, while Redemption and Ardent Sensor do a great job at rounding out the core. Run Guardian as the keystone with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Revitalize. Zombie Ward and Relentless Hunter are the best secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it, guys, the 3 best solo carries for every role in 12.12. Thank you all so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we will see you back soon.